get into it, please help me out. Cross the bridge by subscribing if you haven't already. And, leave a like in the lantern as a light for the next passersby as we discuss real left-hand path. And I wanted to discuss what I mean by real. And there'll be some other videos coming up about this. Someone had reached out to me. They got scammed by a prominent so-called black magician for hire, blah, blah, blah. I mean, fleeced. I won't even, thousands of dollars, almost $2,000. And, what do I mean by real left-hand path? Okay, so in contradistinction to fake left-hand path, what is fake left-hand path? I think left-hand path, probably, I'd say the first sign is that it is totally tied to Western misunderstanding of left-hand path, going back to the Madame Blavatsky. I think she started it, where the term left-hand path was seen as the Black Brothers, as evil, something negative. When the true left-hand path coming from India, you've got the left-hand path, which is basically using the negativity, the horror, the fear of this world as fuel for your journey toward enlightenment, as opposed to the right-hand path, where it's more orthodox prayers and devotions and being a good person, a little more passive, longer but less risk. But it goes to the same place. The left-hand path is aimed for your enlightenment. The right-hand path is aimed for your enlightenment. They're different paths leading to the same destination. So in the Western, it's kind of, beyond the shock value, which has value. Sometimes you've got to be woken up. If you're indoctrinated in Christianity, maybe for the first 6 months, a year, it takes you, you've got to turn some crosses upside down. You got to call in on demons and, don't cut yourself, but do things against your own background, right? And that's about, the level of a 15-year-old. And then what? Well, some people, they make it worse. And it's like a drug. You have to shock and shock until it's just boring. And then what? Well, the next step is scamming people, using people, and then after that, flat out crime. It's the Western left-hand path is a dead end. It's connected to the main goal. It's shock for shock's sake. And then I've noticed these people, they get into their own pattern. It's another group, mainly heavy metal music, wearing black clothes, using magic the same way altogether. So yeah, someone's coming here. So what I mean is, they trying to form a group that keeps you separate, that you think you're different, you're still in a group. You're still in that community. You still crave people around you to think the same, and it becomes another group. So I would say real left-hand path is, and I don't want to say anti-community, but in a way, it is. You, in the end, you have to be on your own. You can have support and mentors and people working along with you, but when you start feeling safe, maybe you were rejected from normal groups. Maybe you were bullied, abused. So you're not going on a journey to find the truth. You're going on a journey to find fellow outcasts like yourself to feel safe in. And it sounds like I'm being a jerk about it. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to be honest. Look at yourself. Are you really aiming toward going beyond who you are now and going beyond how you perceive the world? Or are you just gravitating toward fellow outcasts because you need a group and no one else will take you? I'm not trying to hurt people, but sometimes tough love is the only way. So a real left-hand path has methods. It's tantric Buddhism. There are variations of it, but basically, there are methods to connect with, work with, utilize wrathful deities, and you could say demonic forces, whatever, to psychologically help fuel your initiation, your growth. And you're not going to get that from something that was invented, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. Don't risk years, don't risk destroying your own karma or going into the shock value that can lead to harming others and yourself in the long run. There's still risk, but one way, hey Omar, one way is to connect to a left-hand path that has a tradition going back centuries. And one way is Gnosticism. A problem with that is a lot of it is do it yourself because so much was destroyed. So much of those traditions were spread out. Now, as I'm learning more about Gnosticism, the Gnostic Christ, the cosmic Christ, says, go within, learn from yourself. And I guess there's that. But in this age where we're so easily self-deluded, I think people can really, without a teacher, without a Gnostic community around them, and that was the context that was said, I think you just might as well make up stuff. And there we are, right where we were, making up stuff. Just like Western occultism. So, Sufism, which is a mystical path that is legit, that's the problem with that is it's a form of Islam, and it's so misogynistic that's unbalanced. And the left-hand path is feminine, the darker, mysterious side. So that isn't going to jive well, I don't think, with what with what you're aiming for. It's not true enough. When you're putting women down in that culture so much and limiting them, that ain't right. That's why, I became a tantric Buddhist. Buddhism is a vehicle. I'm not here to be great, to make Buddhism great. Buddhism is the raft that gets you closer toward enlightenment. And it's got a tradition, and it's working with wrathful, dark, and even horrifying. There's horrifying rituals. And if you want in this world to have a path that goes back centuries, that's been tested, I would strongly suggest looking at Buddhism. And under that, you can, I have, Nicholas Schreck has a altar to Set and his Buddhist altar. I have that and a Gnostic altar. Because in Buddhism, even the gods are tied to this world in the end. Buddhism is above gods. What do I mean? So even though these gods are super powerful, a lot of them can be diluted. They can die. They can fade out. What is above a god? And this is what Buddhism is talking about. That's why I think Buddhism is so much more radical than, Western left-hand path or anything else. Because if you go beyond God, what can be beyond God? They call it emptiness. And emptiness is not nothing. The metaphor that the Buddha used was, look at a cart. Well, I'm in a car, so let's use a car analogy. In your mind, you have a concept. This is a car. You might have the make and model or whatever, but when we start really digging into it, what is the car? There's an engine, there's tires, there's the steering wheel, there's the frame, the exhaust system, the computer systems nowadays. Now, if I take out the windshield, is it still a car? If I take out the windshield and the seats, is it still a car? If I take the engine out, and the windshield and the steering wheel, is it still a car? See, all things are made of composite parts. So the thing doesn't really exist. It is an assemblage of different things. And each of those different things are assemblages of parts and then the parts are made of molecules. And now they're discovering under the molecules is basically on the quantum level, waves of potentiality that only collapse into reality when measured. But Buddhism even goes farther than that, because we say it doesn't collapse into reality. Now this is real. This atom's real because it was measured. It is still empty because it's dependent on being measured, and it's temporary. So essentially, even beyond the gods, if you keep going and going and going, in the end, there is nothing for you to grasp onto. It is constantly in flux. It is constantly changing and fading out of existence and coming back. So your whole world, your whole reality is basically an illusion. And I saw a monk on YouTube talking about it, and it's like this. You've got a dog, a brown dog, and you're petting it, and you start watching the football game, and out of the corner of your eye, you see the brown dog sitting next to you, and you're watching an hour. You're all into it, eating your popcorn, drinking your beer, and having a good old time with your dog sitting next to you. Then you hear the dog bark across the room as your friends are driving up to watch the game. And you look, that whole time, it wasn't your brown dog, it was a brown coat that you had left there. So in your mind, in the map of your mind, you're experiencing this football game with your trusty dog next to you. And it felt real, but it was never there. It was a trick of your mind. Amplify that a billion times, and that's the whole world. Because we have this concept of car, but if you really start looking at it, you see it's just pieces, and each of those pieces are made of pieces, and each of those pieces are made of pieces, and in the end, those pieces are all individually temporary and dependent on each other. What is the point? That is the goal, is to stop grasping onto things. You can't hold on to the car. You have the illusion that you can. So real left-hand path, like there's people, become a god, and that goes back centuries. Either there is no God, so I'll be my own God, or I will get enough power where when I die, I become a god. Okay. In Buddhism, that's still not the end. You're still, as a god, the gods are still trapped in these illusions. And they're still made of composite parts that fade in and fade out. I want to give a caveat. I've studied Buddhism and religions, but as a practicing Buddhist who has taken vows, I only took my vows about 3 weeks ago, and I am a beginner, and talking out loud, live in front of a few people helps me as well. So I like the idea of the car, or the classical, chariot. What makes the chariot? There's another one. There was a boat, a famous battleship in ancient Greece, and it was a king's boat or something. I'm forgetting the name, but they kept it, and as it ages, okay, a couple of these boards need to be replaced. Oh, the mast is rotting. We've got to put a new mast on. More boards. The rudder. Oh, there was a storm and it broke. We replaced the rudder. So this goes on and on. Let's call it the Dharma boat. And eventually, slowly, over a couple hundred years of trying to keep this ancient, famous boat preserved, there's not a single piece of timber on it. There's not a single sail that's original to the boat. Is it still the Dharma boat? At what point did it not be? And I'm guessing, I think the answer is it never existed in the first place. So, if you really want to push and you want that extreme, you're not going to get it by doing naughty things or breaking norms. I mean, that if you do it with ethics, with good karma, with good intention, and don't hurt people, that is absolutely a tantric left-hand path method that can help you. But it only helps you so far. You have to meditate. And meditation in the tantric sense is with your eyes open and just observing your own mind. So many people are trying to do magic and trying to learn magic, but they don't even know how their own mind functions. And you will get insights about the world. So yeah, I would suggest considering looking at Buddhism as your main path. Do research yourself. And Buddhism doesn't say, believe this or you're going to go to hell. Our way is the only way. Investigate it and find out for yourself. The Buddha said that. Use your own mind and honestly examine it and dig into these very, very deep questions of emptiness and what is reality. And you're not going to get that depth in this occult left-hand path. I've been studying that for decades. And in the end, as I've said in other videos, when you needed it the most, you're going to find out it won't help you. So I'm in the car waiting for my son to finish his tennis training and thought that would be a good metaphor to talk about emptiness and why I became a Buddhist. You don't have to, there are other pathways, but I think this is the main complete one. And there's different flavors of Buddhism too, but this is the only one. I've taken a vow to, even when I do become enlightened, to come back to help others. And I don't have to wait. I can try to help others right now. So if this reaches one person that makes you go, you know what? I've hit a wall. I'm not progressing in what I thought was left-hand path. Where did it really come from? What is this Tantra? What does Buddha mean by emptiness? Nothing exists, or how does it exist? How is everything an illusion? These bigger, deeper questions are, I hope you could look into. And it takes effort. It takes intelligence. It takes a lot of courage to admit, maybe I've been wrong for 40 years. Put your ego away and at least look at options of real left-hand path and say to yourself, are these people representing left-hand path on YouTube and in the occult section? Is that really the limit? Or is the Buddha going even farther? I think people don't realize how radical Buddhism really is and how mind-blowing it truly is. So, I've done magic successfully. I've worked in the corporate world on NASA top secret projects. I've in the academic world, I've won huge grants. And I'm taking all that experience. And in the end, what I am finding is Buddhism goes beyond everything I've studied. And it's just the truth for me. I haven't been able to disprove it. And in my own experience, it seems, my experience is that it's true. And that the other methods, some are great and some can help get you there. But I'd really look at true left-hand path, which is tantric. Leave a comment. of your own experience with it. Maybe you disagree strongly. Put it down. Let's hear it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Contact me if you're interested in learning about theurgy, real magic that works, or just unlocking your creativity. Check it out. Happy to work with you if you are a sincere seeker on the Lantern Bridge. Thanks. Bye for now.